Ja, also Berlin ist uns eigentlich sehr bekannt und auch sehr beliebt als ein großer Teil unserer Ausbildung und weiterer Berufs- und Lehrtätigkeit in Berlin stattgefunden hat. Ich werde trotz dieser Kurzvortrag lieber auf Englisch sprechen, da einfacher und schneller für mich auf Englisch zu reden ist. Well, the proposal we are presenting today is called Berlin-Brandenburg Ringstadt, and it made it to the final stage of the competition, something that, according to the special relation that we have with the city of Berlin, as I really stated, made us really happy. FRPO, FRPO, our office, is a design office based in Madrid, Spain, and founded in 2008 by Pablo, Oriol, and myself, Fernando. And for this competition, we have teamed up with Jeschke, who is here present with us, a very good Austrian landscape architect with whom we often collaborate. We both have been educated in the IIT Chicago, the TU Berlin, and the ETSAM Madrid, where we, Pablo and I, nowadays teach design studio and develop our research activity. After working abroad for a time, we finally established our own office in Madrid, and we have right now, we're working in projects in Spain, Mexico, and the US, and we usually take active part in many competitions across Europe, providing the office with limitless opportunities to work at very different scales. That's more or less who we are in some, just like 1 minute. Berlin-Brandenburg Ringstadt is a research and theoretical project about the limits of the city regions in a super-urban Central Europe, something that we have been working on for several years already. The city region of Berlin-Brandenburg and this specific competition have been a fantastic context to explore these limits and to go further with the approach to the super-urban realm we are deeply interested in. This research and the resulting proposal are based in 3 basic ideas. The first one is the concept of outline or footprint as a bold basis for spontaneous growth. The second one has to do with the understanding of collective memory as a force claiming for extreme preservation. And the third one has to do with the use of infrastructures and big artifacts as mechanisms to build urban identity in a post-metropolitan realm. We could quote Fumiko Maki and say that somehow in a very simplistic way, master planning can be understood as a precise exercise between the generation of constraints and the allowance of freedom. The definition of a layout and its development over the years organize growth and assures a certain level of resilience. Though we can ask ourselves if this is enough to deal with the prevailing trend in the expansion of European metropolises as an oil stain over the territory. In the case of Berlin, this tendency is even more evident due to the tentacular scheme of this stain, which appropriates its hinterland and consolidates this center-periphery hierarchy, favoring a classic concentration scheme typical of a 20th century metropolitan model. A 21st century organization should respond to the understanding of the territory according to field condition models and infrastructural logics, in which the city is no longer just a city, but a continuous urban realm. A powerful footprint conveys this field condition by a strong opposition, generating therefore a very enriching dialogue. Of course, this is something that it's like deeply rooted already with a series of approaches claiming for big gestures in the territory to assure the success of this controlled but yet flexible model that a bold footprint allowing unexpected growth can provide. From Alan Bothwell and Mike Mitchell in the 60s to OMA in the recent times, big shapes help to organize city regions and provide a certain degree of order to something that must be understood as highly spontaneous and unpredictable. Both Arturo Soria and Ludwig Hilbert-Seimer's linear cities explored this condition 100 years ago. The first one on a metropolitan scale, and the last one on an even continental scale. Arturo Soria happened to build a fragment of its renowned Ciudad Lineal, or lineal city, in the northeast of Madrid in the beginning of the last century, being not only a geometrical model, but a way of living, engaging the urban and the rural as an effective interface between production and 19th century urban sophistication, creating a cultural but permeable boundary between the outside and the inside landscapes of the city region. This takes us to the second concept, which is building up this proposal, the collective memory understood as an opportunity to preserve the central city and its current voids. This extreme preservation of the existing rural landscapes within the urban area provides a frozen image of the central city as it is today and projects the future city beyond its natural buffer, enhancing memory as preservation and preservation as a contemporary planning mechanism which generates full charged voids rather than nostalgic images of the past. The third topic, urban identity, relates to the importance of big elements as artifacts that create identity around them. This understanding of the urban realm as a collection of fragments, as a series of infrastructural interventions around which the city happens, is in the basis of the 20th century urban tradition, as in Aldo Rossi's The Architecture of the City or in Oswald Maria Unger's research on the divided Berlin back in the 70s, both of them very present references on this proposal. So if we read the Berlin-Brandenburg territory through this conceptual triplet, we can see that the region presents a first hinterland that is not homogeneous. In the north, we can find cities of regional importance, such as Oranienburg or Benau. In the southwest, the concentration of water masses and natural space is very high, mixed with large suburbs in the southeast. In the west, the territory is organized around smaller cores, such as Nauen. And also, we've got these big infrastructures both in the north and the south, which are Tegel and Schöneberg Flughafen. In structural terms, the region is clearly arranged by means of two pairs of rings centered on two slightly balanced centers, which are Alexanderplatz and the city west. The first pair of rings is formed by the inner rail ring and the incomplete inner motorway ring, and they are largely coincident in their layout. The second pair of rings is formed by the outer rail ring and the outer motorway ring. Both routes are separated and generate a very interesting strip with a high level of accessibility that is hardly perceived due to the prevalence of the star model. Water bodies, large natural areas, and a series of large artifacts complete the primary reading of the urban territory as a paradigmatic archipelago of urban fragments. The central city is a polycentric metropolis already. From the three main centers, Mitte, City West, and Potsdam Altstadt, a diversity of centralities have emerged over the past 100 years. Though the relationship between this polycentric central city and its periphery responds to a very 19th century radial organization, compromising therefore the future development between the center and its metropolitan regional crown. The Ringstadt reproduces the original polycentric city with a chain of 25 centers inserted at the intersection of the ring's axis with the radial networks of railways and motorways. These multimodal nodes will be the new expansion cores of the city region, supporting a variety of high-density areas where economic, social, and cultural activity can be concentrated. Just 10 kilometers from the outer rail ring, and therefore about 40 minutes by S1 from Berlin Hauptbahnhof, these nodes present a high connectivity and a big opportunity for the city to grow. The Ringstadt stands 55 kilometers away from its center in West Kreuz, Berlin-Messe, and a width of 4 kilometers. The ring's geometric center has been selected to rebalance the asymmetric territory, which is slightly denser to the east of the existing conurbation. Today, the city-state of Berlin has an area of almost 90,000 hectares and a population of almost or around 3.5 million inhabitants. If we add the metropolitan hinterland, the area rises to almost 375,000 hectares and an estimated population of 4 million inhabitants. Berlin-Brandenburg Ringstadt has an area of 70,000 hectares, very similar to the city-state, and with an average density equivalent to that of Berlin, and discounting already the population residing in the proposed area, the Ringstadt will have the capacity to accommodate an additional 2.7 million people. The ring bases its mobility on a new S-Bahn line connecting with the actual network. The existing voids inside the ring are preserved as recreational and production landscapes, enhancing therefore the rural condition of the outer landscapes, which are, both of them, interconnected through the actual green corridors around the whole region. Berlin-Brandenburg Ringstadt proposes a reversal of the relationship between the central city and the suburb through the superposition of a new planning culture that responds to both the European and the regional scales. A model strong enough to organize contemporary urban territory, but yet flexible in its internal organization throughout the decades. So how this proposed theoretical model build real scenarios? Okay, any fragment of Berlin-Brandenburg Ringstadt shows the organization and flexibility that the strategy brings to the future growth in this urban region. The proposal assumes some basic contemporary conditions, such as the basic principle of preservation of the void, as a mean to generate mixed-use islands interconnected through big artifacts and infrastructural elements. To apply these quite simple logics, we need to get deeper in the selected scenario. In this case, we are working with Nauen, to understand its condition through the initial conceptual triplet: outline, memory, and identity. Even when some of the items do not strictly belong to the proposed area, a selection of convenient elements, not only figurative ones, is arranged following the general logics provided by the ring superstructure. Starting from the existing, the proposal selects the voids within the useful band of the ring as contemporary grand forms that order and qualify the image of the city. The axis of the Ringstadt is formed along a line of S-Bahn that connects the different sectors and concentrates facilities of all kinds. The existing nodes act as activity anchors, and new centralities are developed at the intersections between the new parkway and the radial railway and motorway routes. A series of large urban artifacts qualify public spaces and establish neighborhood relations with the interior metropolis. The areas between the parkway, the selected voids, the nodes, and the large structures are organized as a void archipelago waiting to be designed, expecting the unexpected through decades. Finally, protected areas and water bodies across the Ringstadt ensure ecological continuity between inland and outland landscapes as ecological and energy corridors. Overlapping these partial approaches, we can get a general game board where spontaneous and non-programmed developments can take place. Building a certain identity, which in the case of Nauen is very well related to its industrial potential and its concentrated condition, which even using a non-Brandenburg landscape, as this Silesian one we took as an example, can generate a pretty dense yet respectful with the existing image of one of the 25 new Ringstadt cores. The same logics are applied to any of the three proposed scenarios. always departing from a wide understanding of collective memory and popular culture as something to enhance and feed on the superstructural order running along the region. The same series of structural elements organize the area through voids, a parkway, several nodes, the big artifacts and structures, programmatic and landscape islands, and crossing landscapes, providing a canvas where a certain range of activities and developments can take place. In the case of Schmokovets and the Miglea area, which has already a strong natural and recreational character, that must be just enhanced and connected to the bigger superstructure that build the new city region. Slightly inhabiting Walter Lastikov's landscapes with such elements and artifacts that can convey the area's proposed character. I am finishing now with a quick peek of the third proposal scenario in order to show how the system emerging from this research can easily adapt itself to different locations along the Ringstadt. In this case, the system intersects with one city of the regional main, with one of the cities of the main regional cities in the area, which is Oranienburg, reading both its central and its peripheral condition, its historical relevance and its rural landscapes, and once again, its collective memory both in cultivated and popular realms, and following the same systematic strategy through voids, a parkway, the selection of nodes, infrastructural elements, the resulting islands, and the crossing landscapes provide a basic layout to host and a scenario that shows a powerful residential potential along with a significant connection with its Baroque planning memory and its underlying infrastructural condition to generate a certain suburban atmosphere in a strong relation with natural features. Well, just let me finish pointing out that, as we have already explained, this proposal is rather an strategical approach to central peripheral dynamics in contemporary European urban realm than a collection of final images for those specific scenarios. A regional scale outline, an understanding of collective local memories, and a selection of artifacts providing identity can build a series of atmospheres belonging to a bigger identity, which is the Berlin-Brandenburg Ringstadt.